This month marks the 82nd anniversary of The Wizard of Oz. The movie first premiered August 1939. And about 30 years ago, in 1993, The Wizard of Oz cookbook was published. It contains recipes with an Oz theme like Zeke's honey baked ham, Auntie M's crullers, and Parmesan Poppy Wafers. The Parmesan Poppy Wafers in particular are easy to make, consisting of only 3 ingredients, and that's 8 ounces of puff pastry dough, 3/4 cup grated Parmesan cheese, and 1/4 cup of poppy seeds. You start the recipe by preheating the oven to 400 degrees. While the oven's preheating, use some parchment paper on a cookie sheet. And the recipe suggests rolling out the dough on a floured surface, a lightly floured surface. But I found that if you use the parchment paper, you can just roll the dough out right there and it goes straight into the oven. You don't have to worry about lifting it up and transferring it or anything. Usually these puff pastry sheets come in 2 sets to 1 box, and each one is about 8 ounces. You'll want to keep the dough refrigerated until it's ready to use. Carefully unfold the dough. If you're buying the pre-made, of course, if you're making your own dough, then you just start to roll it out. With the pastry dough laid out, you'll start by measuring out your 3/4 cup of Parmesan cheese and the 1/4 cup of poppy seeds. Start by sprinkling the Parmesan cheese all across the dough as evenly as you can. You can, of course, use your fingers to spread it out thoroughly. On top of that, sprinkle poppy seeds. And again, smooth that out so everything is evenly distributed across the dough. With a rolling pin, roll out the dough. I probably should have started by saying that if you're using homemade dough, to initially roll that dough down to about 1/4 inch thick. And you're rolling, pressing the toppings into the dough. With that done, you will then cut the dough into 2-inch squares. And I still use my thumb as a measurement because the top of the thumb from the knuckle up tends to be about 1 inch long. So I go in 2 thumb widths and I've got a chopstick here. Anything straight will work, just to press down and mark where that 2 inches would be. Then with a sharp knife, cut, mark out another 2 inches, and if you've got a good eye and a steady hand, you can just cut it without marking it first. I have neither, so I measured out, and then going in the other direction, pressing down to make a nice indentation to follow along when I cut. And you will want to make sure that your dough is cold when you're doing this. Don't leave it sitting out, otherwise it will start to stretch out of shape as you're cutting it, like this dough is doing. If the measurements are a bit off, that's okay. With the dough pre-sliced, you'll pop this into the freezer for at least 10 minutes. But the dough can actually stay frozen for about a month. And you can just pull it out whenever you want to actually make these. After it's been in the freezer for 10 minutes, you put it into the oven. Check on the wafers after about 10 minutes. If they aren't yet golden brown, give them another 1 or 2 minutes. And when they're ready, take them out and you've got Parmesan Poppy Wafers. Be sure to check out the library's Wizard of Oz books, DVDs, and even ebooks.